Hello, everybody, and welcome to another week of the Roach Wiggle. I'm just sticking the abbreviation this time. Am I coming through okay? I think the mic's picking me up. The good mic, that is. Maybe. All right. I don't know if this knob does anything, but all right. You can hear me anyway. Okay, that's good. Okay, here we are. Another Roach Wiggle. I'm just sticking it from here on out. It's just the Roach Wiggle, and maybe eventually I'll repeat myself and explain it to people in the distant future. So another week. There's my live stream notification. Perfect. 2 minutes late. Wonderful. Let's see. I was gonna go on a small tear about something today, and I can't remember what it was. It'll eventually come to me. But before it does, I am going to once more plug the it could be humidity, Tennyson. That's a very good point. That could be today's tear. Was it? No, I don't think so. I'm going to plug the Roach Crossing auction. I need a better name for that, by the way. If you want to workshop that, whoever's here in the general chat, workshopping the name for the auction. I really like Bugapalooza. Palooza is kind of like one of my favorite weird word additives. Hello, Alan. What is up, my ebony bug? I was thinking about calling the Roach Crossing Bugapalooza auction and giveaway. That kind of works. It kind of rolled off the tongue. And I was looking into YouTube, the RC Wiggle auction. Yeah, the Wiggle things, it's too new though. It's got to gain some traction before I start pushing it everywhere. But this specific event, which I might do year after year if this one goes quite well. So I gotta workshop that name. What are we wiggling? Because I want to update the homepage and slap it on there because it's a month out, under a month out. It's 3 weeks out this Saturday on October 1st and October 2nd from, I think I'm going to do 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm just going to sit here and go back and forth between cultures and some things I've already separated and my stuff in the bug room. And I'm just gonna sell crazy deals on things, crazy groups, do some giveaways. Gonna have some donations for conservation-y type stuff. It's gonna be a Bugapalooza, which is why I really am obsessed over kind of calling it that. But if anybody has any oppositions or better ideas, because now is when I want to start plastering it on my homepage, and then by the end of this week, because I'm going to have a very busy weekend, I want to start getting it out everywhere. I don't do Facebook, but I will find somebody to do Facebook for me. Maybe hijack Kai's Instagram and have him push it there, because I really want to. I want people to rip me off that weekend, because I would like to have lots of funds going into the eventual move. And also I have some winter supplies I need to start buying, like some glass or polycarbonate sheets. I'm reading my bookmarks for covering some enclosures during the winter to keep the humidity in while also staying very ventilated. It's a whole thing. So, and if it becomes an event, I would like that very much so. So, but this weekend I can't start diving into that because I have prep for an expo tomorrow, which I was doing partially today. And then Saturday is the actual expo. And so I have a lot of stuff for that. And I'm very happy to be back to vending. Alan knows what it's like to vend the Michigan Reptile Show, or Michigan Reptile Expo. I think it's still called just show. Alan, you had a fun time when you went there last month for me, didn't you? uh, so I might go ahead and just call it the 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 Roach Crossing Bugapalooza fun. This message is held for review. Fun time, my ass. Uh, yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't even know how slammed you guys were, but usually there's a 2 hour period where I can't do anything because I'm stuck at the table with people talking to me and stuff. I do, honestly, I do enjoy it. I do not like getting ready for it because I have to pack things up and it takes a day and all this other stuff. And I don't like going there and I don't like setting up. But once I'm there and all the setup is done, then I enjoy it because I like talking to people and seeing old faces and the sale. The sale is always fun when somebody doesn't know what they want or what they're think they're looking for one thing or they want this or something like that. Actually, speaking of which, I need to make more business cards at some point. That's going to be another thing. So I have a lot of stuff to do. I've been in the zone the last couple of days, but basically get up, work, go to sleep, get up, work, go to sleep with bug stuff. Tuesday and Wednesday were shipping days this week, and it was a lot. It's just a lot all around. And by the time I move to the new building, I am definitely going to need a full-time employee because it's a lot. And it's not even just, packing and all that other stuff. It's like when I'm just doing general bug stuff, I have containers that are being cleared out and need to be cleaned and prepped for new stuff, or I have new containers that I have to have washed and dried, or it's a whole assembly line of stuff that constantly has to be done. Hopefully, won't have too much of it now that the collecting season's winding down. But then again, weird like African imports and stuff usually start coming in, I think, in the fall and then again in the spring. So there might be stuff at the show that I end up getting, maybe. I have a bunch of isopods coming this week or next week. A bunch of stuff from someone who I don't know if they want to be mentioned, but due to one of their assistants' carelessness or something, killed all of their Porcellio scaber and now need all of their Porcellio scaber colonies restocked, and thus has offered me quite a few very tasty isopods to send pure scaber stock to them, which is also another reason why I preach the value of keeping track of lines and people staying in stuff like Scaber and Vulgari even after the fads goes, because once the fad goes, the first wave of people wanting things and then not wanting it, then everybody gets rid of theirs and you see who's actually in it for, because they enjoy being into things. And then all of a sudden people are like, I can't find this thing. Where is it? Everybody had them years ago. And then it's because everybody got out of it. What's another thing that's like this? What's something that everybody had? I'm trying to think in reptiles and stuff like that. I know there's been stuff like that. Hello, Chan. I say hello to everybody who's popped up in the chat so far. We got Brett, Dennison, Chris, Alan, and Shane. Good to see you all. What was I saying about things that people had everywhere? Some people were talking about this the last couple days. Was the troglodytes? Yeah, Brett, those are two, the Pandinus and Archispirostreptus, and the troglodytes, Hedogenes. There we go. Yeah, I remember going to shows and they'd have just tables just stacked high with them for $5 each. And now everybody wants them because they can't get them anymore. Unspeakable things. A couple of the people who frequent this chat have like odds and ends of Hedogenes. So I also think that anybody who wants to seriously breed them is probably going to have to heat them and invest in that sort of. It's going to be a commitment to a breeding setup. It's not going to be a tedious stigmura situation where you throw them in a container with a bunch of bark and you just end up with a bunch of babies a year and a half later, or a colony a year and a half later, it's going to be. Actually, speaking of Titius, I need I want to get Stignerus again. And what was the other one? Vitatus, maybe the other parthenogenetic ones. I collected a. Boy, I'm all over the place today. I was on the first train of thought with the Porcelio Scaber, and now we're on to Hodogenes and stuff like that. I know there's another good example before Cerulatus. Yeah, that's it, Brett. What's another thing that everybody had and then nobody had? Vampire crabs. That's one. I remember 2010 or 2011 going to the local expo, and everybody had vampire crabs, and they had them in those little tiny bio cubes with some baby tears plants and other stuff, and everybody was talking about how it's like, oh yeah, it's like a whole mini ecosystem, and all you have to do is feed the crabs and they breed in there and stuff like that. And then it was like 2 years later, the whole fad was gone. Nobody had them, and I think places still have them. I think we've had this discussion on the stream before too. I think places still have them online, but they have like no show presence anymore. Like nobody buys them specifically for shows, probably because the price has gone up and they can't just sell them for, I think it was like $20 each or something like that, and make gobs of profit. So yeah. Scaber, I lost my whiteouts. I probably talked about my bounty for whiteouts. Scaber last week. Maybe if anybody has whiteout Scaber, they can trace to my colony and prove it, basically, because I don't want to be working with it and find any secret other homozygous recessive things lurking underneath it, like orange. Orange would be the most likely culprit. So yeah, that bounty is still out there for those. I know TJ put an earnest effort into it, but you basically you can't buy some of the stuff anymore because it's just all been mixed up and mixed around. People going in and out of wanting things. So I'm gonna go get my electrolyte drink. Oof. So yeah, what else was I going to talk about? Scorpions. I got a Sculpturatus. I had Mount Hopkins on the Arizona trip. Was like, oh, this is a very chubby Centroides. I figured it was gravid. And I was supposed to send it to Samson this week, and I went to pack it up, and it was covered in babies. So I was like, okay. So I'm going to set those up and see what I can do with it. I think it had maybe like 15 babies on its back. I do like scorpions. Problem was I gave them a really earnest effort around 2018, 2019. And that was before I had my full understanding of how dry it gets in the winter and blah, 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 blah. And so I lost, I mean, didn't lose Titius, but I had some groups of some other things that this is like the Cuban Blues or something like that. There was a guy on Facebook. I don't know if he's still around. William King, maybe. He had a bunch of captive bred scorpions. I used to buy stuff from him from time to time, and everything that I received from him was always very good quality. You could tell it was captive bred because they're cohorts of babies, are good size and whatnot. So I don't know if he's still around, but if he is, I'm surprised he's not more popular because he had a very impressive list of different scorpions. I might pick up some scorpion projects at the show this weekend. I don't know. I also probably shouldn't because I've put away so many bugs. I mean, you can just look at this. It goes from the ground all the way to the top, and there's still some of it that's not even in frame. I have to turn this, and you see the rest of it. And that's just the office too. And then the light over there, going to get rid of that. That's probably going to be. I have a short rack downstairs, one of these short wire racks, and it's currently housing a bunch of odds and ends things, like things that I collected or got and was like, I don't know if this is going to breed or if this is going to survive. So I just sort of put it all over there and then check on it, every couple of weeks, and then make a call like, oh, okay, these are alive and molting and stuff. I'll set these up. Or also if I run out of containers, it's like some stuff like Samson had sent me some tiny cosmetic harvestmen, and the only container that I had for them was a weirdly sized critter keeper. It wasn't one of my standard ones. Those went on there. And various best beetles I've collected, things like that, just get put on there for the time being. What else? Looking around here, thinking about stuff downstairs. The Dendrotheruahoma Arizona house centipedes have been molting and getting bigger in a communal, and they've been eating nothing. The only thing they have to eat in the enclosure are Drosophila hydae, fruit flies. So that's good. Let's see. My brain is just sort of oh, Tennyson. Tennyson, was it you who was asking last week about my Goliathus? 5-gallon Tennyson asked, could a 5-gallon paint bucket enclosure be heated by a heat pad where the plastic melt? In my experience, those 5-gallon buckets are kind of they're not the most heat tolerant. You could try it. I think the one that I melted, my dad lit something on fire inside of, or I put something that was on fire inside of it and it burned through the bottom. So I would just try it, be cautious. The old Roach guide, All Pet Roach book recommended using 5-gallon bucket enclosures, and I can't remember if they were using heat tape or not on those, but I just know that that was something that was recommended in there. I finally cracked open the Goliath bin because I remember you were pestering me, and I thought, I need to do this anyways because I have this space in my schedule where I'm kind of just actively going. Again, I'm just kind of actively going through everything and staying on top of everything and getting a bunch of new stuff set up. This is gears are turning full speed. So here's what I found, and I was extremely surprised about this. Most of them were alive, and I was like, what? Most of them were alive. There were no deaths to cannibalism, even though they were all very clearly starving because the substrate dried out, and since the air humidity is so high, they didn't completely die. If it was winter, they would have completely died. There were a couple that I found dead because I found the shriveled up blackened bodies with the head capsules. A couple of them that I found dead, but I recovered all of the bodies. I didn't lose any. They didn't eat each other, even though they were starving, and they were also all clustered up together. They were all third instar too. They are still all third instar, and a couple of them started pupating communally. I have a picture that I sent to Alan. I think I may have sent it to Kai too, of the two larvae trying to pupate in the bottom clay, sand, whatever special mixture that I made up in that picture of me with the stuff on my hands in the winter. So, and Kai and Alan were very critical of the group pupation thing. And then I sent that to him, and then Alan was like, oh, some Asian hobbyist already found out they could communally pupate. I was like, so I was right this whole time. So obviously I'm on route to finally my dream of communally raising Goliath beetles effectively. And so now I got some ideas on how to close the loop and tweak things to get it to where I want it to be and how I want this to go. So so these have been 2 times that were half failures, and I actually, out of all the things, I know I had that live stream about failing full stop, but you can fail upwards sometimes. And I feel like out of all the tries and attempts that I've ever made with any sort of bug, I feel like I've learned the most and made the most progress towards my personal goal with these Goliath beetles, and each time that I almost kill them. So anyways, but I took larvae, I set them up in individual cups. I just want to see if I can get adults through a semi-traditional manner. And I also just wanted to put them in ICU to get some weight on them. Some of them are doing better. Some of them aren't really doing much. There's a couple that are just ignoring the dog food that I put in with them and are eating the mycelium infested substrate around them. So I was like, okay, that's fine, I guess. So, but on the flip side of things, Macinerina are doing very well. I had another female at close. Actually, I'll go grab one. I'm surprised Samson isn't here to tell me to show bug. Are you the new female? I think you're the older female. So Macinerina torcata, the CF ugandensis, whatever. We've had this discussion before. I've been watching them not all day, but whenever I come in the room, I'll just peek into the enclosure and see what's going on. And I think that the females don't like being kept together. And I brought this up to a couple of beetle people. I'm curious if Kai or Alan will chime in, but so I put a big slice of apple in the enclosure, and I feel like the bigger female has been muscling the smaller one off. And, sometimes beetles will, they don't like things touching them or coming up to them. And I was wondering if maybe it's that where it's like this other one's feeding and then this one approaches and then the other one just sort of feels something touching it. And then it's just sort of like, trying to get it away because it's a predator or doesn't want to be pushed off the food or a reflex or something like that. But I think I actually saw the larger female doing as a male might do and trying to flip or use this little Clypeus shield thing to like push this one away when it approached the food. So I'm not sure, what this means. I'll just keep watching it and see and make sure. I mean, obviously, if another female dies, it's a sign that they're antagonistic to each other, or maybe they just like to monopolize the food or whatever. So, waiting for a male to a close, and I'm getting very impatient with the pupil cells. I might end up cracking one open or cracking a window into one. I really don't like doing that. When I was younger and less experienced, I think that there were a handful of things that I did that and I hurt the pupa or the prepupal larvae. So I just really don't like doing it. And also, it seems it's best you gotta have let the beetles leave the pupil cells on their own, for each species at least once, I feel, because then whether or not it's okay for you to crack open the cells and remove the adults. And what I mean by that is with the Macinerina, when I just left the cells and let the adults emerge, it was like, okay, when I was shaking the pupil cell or when I cracked a window, I could tell that there was an adult in the pupil cell, and then I just left them alone. And very shortly after, the adults started coming out on their own. So it was a sign that, okay, it's natural. It's a natural process for them to leave the cell as soon as once they pupate it and they have it closed, they very soon after leave the cells. Now, for other things like Rutella and maybe for some cotinus, I did pull my cotinus from the cells, but I had to really fight myself for a long time to not remove my cotinus metabolus from their cells. So, but with those ones, I feel like it was important for me to leave them in the cells because there's a very long quiescence, it seems, after they close before they're ready to move or mate or all those other things. And people have brought this up before, the things like Dynastes tideus and Lucanus elaphus. Lucanus elaphus. I'm feeling very empowered with beetles. I've been having really good success with them the last year. And so I've been expanding into more things. I mean, I tried to... Good news. On the beetle topic, one of the few larger or coveted beetles that I found when I was in Arizona was Christina gloriosa in Cave Creek Canyon. I caught about 4 One of them died very soon after being caught. The other 3, I basically made it back to Michigan. And I didn't think that they laid any eggs in their substrate, which is why I pestered you, Brett. And so I didn't think that I got any larvae out of these Gloriosa because it didn't feel like it was long enough for them to have been on the substrate. I kind of felt like it was subpar substrate I put them into too while I was on the trip. And last night I saw that there's a bunch of larvae in the cup, so I may have well over 15, maybe even more than that, because I was just seeing what was pressed up against the sides. But I should have at least 15 Chrysina gloriosa larvae, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, I think Kai has Bayer Eye, actually, Brett. I need to pester him to bring some for me for the show so I can give them a try. But I did also get larvae from my Pellinota punctata from Key Largo. Doesn't seem like a lot of larvae, unfortunately. I think I found one. I found evidence of a couple more, and they had a lot of space and a lot of food, so I don't know what happened there. The Tennessee Pellinota that I had seemed to produce tons and tons and tons of larvae, but those were wild. Well, I guess these other ones were wild caught too. So I guess I'll just have to raise another generation of the Key Largo punctata and hope that I can get a really good eclosure rate the next time. Or not eclosure rate, just a really good larval oviposition rate the next time. So Lucanus elaphus, I had a bunch that I collected in the spring eclose, and they're all males. I thought that I had at least one female, and then when I actually opened up the cell, it was I just saw the butt. It was actually a male. And so, yeah, so I want to work with elaphus now. Yeah, the ones that I raised are pretty big. Kai says that the one big male that I have is kind of a medium size, but the thing is huge. Like the dimension length is longer, almost probably longer than this Macinarina here, and this is a good sized beetle here. So yeah, so I have Lucanus elaphus now. I want to close the loop, and I'm going to need more larvae to do that. So I'm going to raise another set of larvae. And I mean, could possibly justify an Alabama trip next spring to go look for the Elaphus larvae alone. And there's some Parcoblata that I need to catch again, like Boliana. I'm trying to think what else we found in Alabama that could be worth a trip down there in the springtime. Maybe a couple more flat millipedes and other stuff. So, although the Uriuridae from Auburn bred, that's right, because there's immatures in cells against the glass. So I still have to check on all my millipedes. I've checked on a couple of them. This is all since I got back from Arizona. I still haven't checked on them. I still haven't checked on my arachnid rack. A lot of that stuff will go for a very long time because of how I set it up. But the millipedes I checked on, basically the pink dragons, and they I got a small group of them from Kai, and I think Kai said that, Alan, your colony crashed and Kai's colony crashed. And I kind of got the feeling from looking at Kai's that it was going to crash. There were a couple of odd sizes that were like they didn't look too vigorous. And I kind of figured that I should grab a good number of good-looking ones to move to a setup just in case he lost them. And also because I wanted them. Oh, that's good, Alan. I might have to pester you for just a couple because I checked on mine from Kai, and I think that it wasn't enough to save all the ones that I collected, setting them up well. Wasn't enough to save all the ones that I collected. But I found like four-ish adults or four-ish big ones, and I think I got somewhere between 7 and 9 from Kai, but four-ish adults doesn't seem like it's a good number. So, but we'll see, because maybe they'll breed explosively, because they seem, now that they've sort of stabilized in the enclosure that I have them in, I think that all the adults will be okay. It's just a matter of whether or not both sexes are there. But You know, for everybody wanting them, they're not going to be a good millipede for casual keepers, because it seems like Oxidus, even though they're probably very common in the wild and they're, when you get them, they do very well. They probably just constantly need their substrate material topped off and refreshed with good quality leaf litter and whatnot. And if you have a lot of them, they'll just burn it out really fast and die. It's kind of like Oxidus or Helicothomorpha. Gosh, I hate that Latin name. That is a millipede that really needs a short common name. Helicorthomorpha holstii, which my Helicorthomorpha horstii is the colony is doing fine also. So that's good. I do need that black and yellow Oxidus from Florida. Will's trying to get me to do a Florida trip this winter. I don't know if it'll happen. I kind of got a lot of things going on here, but at the same time, I might need to go and collect the Aranavega from Ocala, and I've never been there to that collecting site before, so maybe it could be justified. Yes, Alan, I think Alan, you collected the first Helicorthomorpha from Florida, or got them from, yeah, I think you collected them from Florida first, and then we went and collected them when we were there. All the other dudes went and collected them. So yes, we do. They are in the collective. They're also introduced to Florida. They're pretty common at a couple of places that are very easily accessible, but it's always a question of whether or not somebody's going to go and actually get you things from there. So yes, the unfortunate thing is, it seems like they don't tend to be as black and orange in captivity as they do in the wild, but mine are pretty. Whoa, too much sun. I have a couple of this current generation that are coming out oranger than the previous generation. So I'm wondering if it's a diet thing, or what the exact deal is with it. So let me think. What else? What did I put away today? Grylus. Tennyson says, I checked in on my nymph tenebracosa bin. It seems to be a lot more humid since I removed the ventilation. Saw some moisture collecting the sides and lids, so that means it's more humid. Yeah, and since you're in Utah and the air is so dry, that might be okay. Just again, I think I suggested a digital hygrometer. When I eventually get around to rewriting or amending the Roach Crossing care guide thing, I think I might do. Did I do a supplies? I think I don't know. I can't remember if I did a supplies page on there, general supplies page suggestions. But I think everybody should have a digital hygrometer / thermometer, and I think that would be very eye opening for some people as to how wildly humidity can vary. And then, of course, if you're anywhere that's cold during the winter and you have to run your furnace heat, just how dry houses get during the winter time. What else was I saying? Was I putting away today? Today's been. I'm gonna turn on this light over here. Today was a bunch of odds and ends. Got the last of the Aranavega put into their permanent enclosures. What else? Last of Venezillo put away. I think I'm down to maybe 7 containers of things that need to be put into permanent containers, but haven't been yet. It's a bunch of miscellaneous. Like I can't put that Centroides sculpturatus into a permanent container because I need to wait for the babies to crawl off, and then she's going to go to Samson. So, but yes, otherwise it's been a good day for putting away Grylus. So I've been in contact with a research group in Vermont who are looking into something about feminization in improving fitness or something in male Grylus, and they're doing phylogenetic work on them too. with this. So they were asking me for groups of a bunch of localities and species. And so already being interested in keeping different gry lists, I was like, okay. And so I've just been, as I went through the West, get a nice close up on this girl. Yeah. See if it'll now last week it focused on stuff that was up close. Too close. The sweet spot right there, maybe. Oh yeah, that's a sweet spot right there. What was I saying? So anyway, so I grabbed a bunch of gry lists. It was a crappy year for gry lists most places out west, but I grabbed just a couple, somewhere between 1 and 3 adult females at most of the places that I went to. Set them up, got them back, set them up more in depth. Last year, what happened was I had some velvet mites hitchhike on the adult gry list, and there were so many everywhere last year. Everywhere that we went in September, there were tons of them. And so, but the one group that I had set up and ended up having a velvet mite infestation. I guess I could breed velvet mites if I wanted to, because they'll eat the eggs of the gry list if I set up a culture specifically to be infested with velvet mites. But that's the crickets died because I deprioritized them, and then the eggs were all eaten by velvet mites. So unlike my York, Nebraska gry list, I didn't salvage any, and couldn't start a colony. So, but this year I think I got 8 to 10 very distinct localities of gry lists, and including some that are very morphologically different from others, which was great because it seems a lot of the eastern species are just sort of black and brown or just consistently black. And then you get out there, and although there are plenty of species that are like that, where you have 3 species that look identical, there were some from very far south in Arizona that looked like those Grojo Rojos, the crazy red crickets that were Grojo Rojo, that were Loco Rojo. That was it. They literally called them crazy red crickets. And that was found to be a species from Mexico. Hence, and they were called crazy reds, and they were described as crazy reds. Wow, there aren't even pictures of it. That's weird. Crazy red. So anyway, so in rural Arizona, I may have found these Grylis Grojo Rojos, something that looks very, very similar to it. They have a very similar face, but they don't seem to be quite as large as the Grojo Rojos that I had received. Claims that crazy reds occur in the wild in California. Blah, blah, blah. Loco Rojo. But anyway, so we'll see, because when they do the phylogenetics, they will be able to tell me what everything is. Rosula mycelium, says Chain. You know, that's an interesting observation, Chain, because what has happened with the Helicorthomorpha, Alan gave me his colony, or a large colony with some other stuff mixed in, and I set them up in a larger enclosure. And one of the bases for my millipede enclosures is the white rot wood material, which is colonized wood pellet with a white rot living white rot fungus mycelium. And they seem to, I've kind of sandwiched them to lock in the humidity while also allowing the whole tank more ventilation, I've sandwiched them basically underneath a layer of that stuff. So there's like all the leaf litter and then that white rot material above it. And I've seen them feeding on the underside of it and whatnot. And in the wild, we found them quite frequently on the underside of rotting logs, apparently eating the fungus. So maybe it's might be something in the in various fungi that gives them that orange color. So it might be why mine are turning orange now. In fact, I don't think this batch that I have right now, because I moved adults from Allen before into the enclosure, and now it's their babies that are growing up. So it's possible that I might end up getting adults maturing and being the bright orange within this setup. So that would be cool. Anyways, finishing up on the Grylus thought. So, yeah, so a lot of the original collecting containers have babies in them that just hatched out, and then a bunch of the sort of temporary setup containers just in case of velvet mites or other things that could be brought in on the adults. Those have had a bunch of babies hatch in them too, which I was kind of surprised at, because these are not as old as the collecting containers, and so have been frantically moving things into escape proof containers to bump up my Grylus species count. And people probably find a use for them as feeders. Like the Assimilis said, they're excellent feeders, and they aren't infested with cricket paralysis virus and all that other stuff. But I think there may one day be value in them from the pet perspective, but not from the, oh, look, it's a pretty cricket, from the fact that you can basically have an ensemble of different cricket calls in your house at any time of the year. If you live in the Midwest or anywhere that gets below 50 degrees in the winter, it's kind of nice to have some sounds and not just be dead silent inside or outside wherever you go, because it's winter and everything's dead. So Tennyson asks, are there any species of roach that need fairly dry air humidity, but a moist substrate seems to be something I can provide quite easily? A lot of Uricotas do well like that. Something else that likes dry air. You can that's how you can raise Aeronavega like that too. It's just the problem is, if you know your air is going to constantly be dry, yeah, you can keep Aeronavega on a pretty moist substrate. But if it gets too humid and there's not good ventilation, they'll just die. They'll just swell up with water and bloat and die. So let's see, what's the air humidity here right now? Oh boy, it's only 42% humid in here. That's pretty dry, which means that tonight I'm going to be giving everything a thorough watering like I did last night. Actually, it's been really dry in Michigan. I think it rained once since I got back. You can check the forecast. There's a bit of rain in the forecast for this weekend and early next week, but other than that, it's nothing. And this is very weird for Michigan. Usually the last weekend of August, we get a lot of storms. I guess we did get some rain. Imagine drowning in air. So yeah, it's been dry here, which is a lot of I think the cool, humid air in the house during the spring, summer, and fall settles into the basement, which is why it gets so humid down there at this time of year, especially. And then during the winter, the furnace is pumping hot air constantly upstairs, and the heat from all the lights and stuff is rising. So everything just gets nice and toasty and dry. Yeah, Tennyson, I don't think you could go wrong if you tried out Aeronavega tonkawa. It's a pretty good beginner Aeronavega species. Hello, TJ. I don't know if you've read your Discord, but I found more containers that I have to send you of stuff lying around. as I'm finally getting through pretty much everything from the Arizona trip finally. So there's another container with some stuff in it that I need to send your way. So I've just been going on and on about stuff that I've been doing, and I can't really remember what my tear was going to be. I feel like I had something I felt very strongly about earlier. I was thinking about it while I was doing bug work, and then I was going to come here and get on my podium and soapbox and talk about it, but I can't really remember. Let me think what else. Yes, TJ, since you brought up the Ben sending me Nyctibora, that's something I should talk about too, because I can't remember if we talked about it before, because last week was the Arizona recap, so I guess no, we wouldn't. So Ben, being Ben, just stumbles upon all kinds of weird stuff. I'm going to go put this girl back because she's getting a little antsy. Or beetly, I suppose. Okay, put your face in the fruit. There we go. So Ben, being Ben, stumbles across all kinds of weird stuff, and sometimes he collects it because he figures that I want it or somebody I know wants it. But sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes when he does, we end up with things like the stump roaches, and where they're probably an undescribed species, and even if not, they're something that we don't have and probably couldn't have fathomed having. And so his recent find was at a place where a lot of us have been to at Pina Blanca. I think at Pina Blanca Lake specifically, he found some roaches that just stuck out enough from the Shelfordella lateralis that are there that he decided to collect them. And they ended up being a species of Nyctibora, which is an ectobiid and not a bladid, that has not been recorded from the United States before, because most of its the distribution for that genus is Central and South America, and nobody would have gone out looking for Nyctibora specifically because nobody cares about roaches. And so Ben has likely discovered a population of Nyctibora at the very northernmost extent of their range, which was unreported, or they could range through some of those other mountains in extreme southern Arizona. We wouldn't know, although a lot of roach people have been through those areas. We haven't encountered them yet, but Ben was in the right place at the right time and collected 2 adult females. Each adult female has laid an ooth, which is wonderful. Means that they were fertilized, which is just what we want to hear. And so now those 2 Nyctibora females are on their way here along with the ooths. The ooths will be going to TJ to have fun with and hopefully hatch sooner than later. And the 2 females will be staying here and hopefully starting my own breeding colonies of them. And then TJ will go through the old publications that are really crappy quality, really crappy scanned quality, and try to figure out which of the 2 likely species of Nyctibora they are. But either way, it's a big win all around for all of us, because now we've got a very special ectobiid roach in the hobby, and the roach people are the first people to know that it's in the U.S. at all. So that's great. And so that's some pretty big news. And as many people here are also familiar with, just roaches in tropical and subtropical places in the U.S. are stupidly underreported. And every time we go to Florida, or the more iNaturalist things and bug guide things that get logged in from Florida, the more and more exotic things we realize are introduced, or undescribed things are just hanging out. So I'm going to catch up in the chat here really quick. Tennyson says, how large of an enclosure should they be started on? I feel like I've heard Aaron and Vega need fairly specific amount of space at first. So for a group of 12, you could get away with one of these. They're the small faunariums. The footprint is about 5 inches by 8 inches. You could keep them even smaller and they will grow faster. And in a smaller enclosure, they will grow faster and you'll get a colony established sooner. But just beware, the smaller the enclosure you have, especially if it's well ventilated, the more difficult of a time you're going to have regulating the humidity, or you're going to have to do more work to manually regulate the humidity. Like with these, again, I water them once a day at least. And I don't do as much feeding because on the dry side, it stays so dry. The food doesn't mold. There's a nice stockpile of it there. Don't tend to get any grain mites in these style setups. So, but I do have to water frequently. So, and I will be bumping the substrate layers levels up in quite a few of these, maybe with the next set of husbandry that I do, because some of them are a little bit low, and going into a dry winter and having so many precious little Aeronavegas, I really need to make sure that I will probably water more heavily when I do my weekly-ish maintenance on all of these, and that will help to, that'll be a big buffer during the wintertime, because if you have a lot of water in the substrate and the air is dry, there's constant outflow of water as it evaporates in these enclosures. And so it's very difficult to overwater, because even if you overwater and the Aeronavega are upset and there's too much water for them, it's not like having no ventilation or very high humidity where they're just sort of stuck in it. Eventually, it dries out so quickly that it's just a blip on the radar. And in fact, it might be beneficial because the eggs might swell with water and hatch more frequently. So, yes, Tennyson in general, keeping half moist and half dry is the way to go. If you can manage that, that is, you've got both of your bases covered. And then additionally, with a little star asterisk there, if you keep it half moist and half dry, and you do just a light mist once a day, oh, that's the boy wanting to come in. That's even better. So, boy, it only took you 15 minutes to want to come inside, huh, Mr. Fraggle House? Are you going to invade the stream today? Are you going to invade the stream? So yes, Nick Deborah. That's a big thing that happened. Another big thing that happened. So I had the couple of losses while I was gone, such as the Pseudopharaspis and Eulastoblatta species Ocala, and it's always a bummer for me to lose things. I feel like I should be able to manage this better, and I shouldn't have any of these problems, but I have to also cut myself some slack and look at the bigger picture and realize that things happen sometimes. So, because I look at other things where it's like, oh yeah, 3 years ago, if I went on an Arizona trip or something, I would have totally lost both my Cariblatta colonies and these little penguin roaches, and they're doing fine through the trip. So it was just some things that were kind of on their way out, maybe things I didn't have a perfect idealized understanding of husbandry for, whatever, blah blah blah. But there have been a lot of good things that have happened after the trip and during the trip, thanks to good preparation. One of those is I'm finding baby Eutherhappa pacifica roaches, which is great because that's been a dream species. And I received a very, very generous colony of them. And it was enough that I felt like if I fail, there's something really wrong with me. My Roach Keeper card needs to be revoked if I fail with these, considering how many there are and how healthy they are. And so I'm finding hatchlings, I'm finding second instars. Some of those may have been from ooths that were present when I received them, and some of them may have been from stuff that was laid while they were still here, because I did have one or two adults. I did receive one or two adults with the group. So the rate that things are going in there, I would really hope to make them available think by Christmas at the absolute at the absolute latest, and at the earliest Halloween, I think. So, and their care is basically just a slightly more moist air Nevega. It will be tricky seeing how they do going into the winter because, again, the air is pretty humid right now. They're quite happy with that. But I think that I've got a good diversity of microhabitats in their enclosure, and they've sort of they're settled into the moist end, and they're just sort of a lot of them are accumulated in the little pit beneath a nice curved dome-ish piece of bark, and that will make for an excellent humid retreat microhabitat during the winter time. So that's good. The Melanozosteria soror also have been producing babies, so I'm happy about that. More polyzosterine roaches, the better. That's my life motto. You know, that you look at roachcrossing.com, the tagline there, it says more polyzosterine roaches, the better. I really wish I knew how to change that, because it would have been great if I could have done it like immediately, and then everybody would have been like, no, that's not what the tagline is the cockroach enthusiast. Then everybody would go there and it would just say the more polyzosterine roaches, the better. I have to dig. I would have to dig through here and figure out how to do that again, because I actually don't know how to do that. I could figure it out, but it would take me more time than for the gag, if only. So what else is going on here? Just going to look around and see what's going on. Lots of umming. This is bottom of the rung for expectations and amount of joy produced, but the Tenebrio obscurus that I collected bred. So I had Tenebrio obscurus that Ty Randall had sent me, and he said that the colony wasn't doing well for him or something, and so those all died for me too. But then when I went and visited my friend Mike and was digging around the goat corpses and stuff, like from the old goats that he has die, and he throws them out in the back of the field, and in the barn where there was like a skull of a goat and stuff, I found some Tenebrio obscurus, so I collected those. And what do you know? They bred, so now I got a nice semi-local colony of Tenebrio obscurus. If I get a small faunarium and don't modify the enclosure with the adult males, yes, the adult females and males will fly out. What I do is, this is muslin, and I just sort of cut it to size, and get that off there, it annoys me. And I put it, as you can see, I just sort of clamp it down right underneath here, and these lids still pop on just fine. With the muslin there. And this is actually, it's just really great because it keeps out a lot of stuff from going in, like fruit flies or forward flies and whatnot. And it keeps things from getting out too. And obviously enables ventilation, makes things stackable and all that stuff. So, and then of course, to make my life easier so it's not a living hell anymore, I have these watering ports here where I can just go around and quickly spray into everything without having to take the lid off, take the muslin off, do all of this, do all of that. So, sorry. I thought you were talking about tennis. I thought you were talking about Euthir hapa. No, female Aranavega cannot fly and they can't climb. So the males, depending on how small the species is, they may or may not be able to squeeze through these. Tonkawa males are pretty good size, so I doubt that they'd be able to fit through these, so you may not have to worry about that in the first place. So, but for other Aranavega, like Floridensis or maybe Erratica, it might be a concern. So I'm trying to think if there were any other small ones that I collected. A lot of the stuff I found was pretty good. A lot of the species I found were pretty good size, even adults. I think a really tiny Aranavega would be cute. I think Alan was the one who really wanted Darwinite. What are you? How can I help you? What do you need today? Do you want to come here? Come here. Come here. You were outside for 50 minutes. Do you just want attention? Do you want to make this the Victor live stream? Are we showing butt? Oh, hi, Kim. I had a Macinerine adult female out a minute ago. Let me see if Victor wants you. Come here. Come here. Or do you want to just sit over there? Dog. Come here. Come on. No? You don't want to come in here. It's too hot. I suppose I could get a... Stop. Come here. Do you want to come into the room or not? You are more than welcome to. The door is open. You are invited. Anyways, I'll grab a Tafaliska for us to look at because my first captive bred generation is ready to I've sent a couple of them off already. I might make some of them available too. Brett, preferred barrier for tiny climbing species. Are you familiar with the product known as Roach No Crossing? I'm going to link it right here. And Tennyson, let me see what chiffon fabric is. There's your good boy. There you go. I don't know. I'm not familiar. Well, maybe. Is this the stuff that I use for other stuff? That looks like that should be fine. I use a nylon-based fabric for my larger enclosures that don't have heat lamps. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'm pretty sure it's a nylon fabric, and I use that as an underlayment on larger enclosures, like 10 gallons and 5.5s for different things, because it makes it easy to spray through. It's very difficult to spray top down through muslin. What do you want? Gotta try and get this thing to look down at the dog. Hello? You've got birds on your face. Yeah. I don't know what you want from me. Or just want to hang out? Okay, you can hang out. You can be part of the live stream, dog live stream. So I use muslin and I use that nylon fabric stuff for, okay, he's hanging out. That's good. Yeah, good boy. I use that nylon fabric stuff for the larger enclosures. I would think that chiffon stuff should be fine. Again, with Aranavega adult males, it's unlikely they'll push through the holes in the medium critter keeper things. Jane says, I need some tiny Aranavega for some testing. Think about trying to induce symbioses with other burrowing arthropods. Yeah, it should be easy to do. Tonkawa seems to be the most adaptable Aranavega species, considering its range, although I think if that were looked into further, they might split it into a couple of different species based on genetics. But Tonkawa seems to be a good go-to for trying that out because they're found in all kinds of different rodent burrows. They're found living independently in certain situations. They're found with other sand roaches too. The original Aranavega Tonkawa were found. The original colony were found with Aranavega boliana at one point. Chain, are you looking for how to spell the cockroach species? Oh, the here I'll type it in here. What do you want? What do you want? Tennyson says, so if I have a heat lamp above the enclosure, should I not use chiffon fabric? Yeah, that might melt. I'm not really sure what chiffon is made of. And Aranavega should do okay at your room temperature, depending on what it is. And consider that they're found all the way north into, and probably found further north than they're currently reported from, but found into southern Utah and Colorado as well. So room temperature, especially if it's a room that gets warmer during the summertime, you'll just get a very natural cycling like you would in like they would experience in the wild. Dog is settled down. Just whoop that right up. I am going to grab a Tafeliska though because I want to show them off again. So this was a couple months ago. I had that live stream where I was handling that adult female Tafeliska and was surprised at how calm she was. Accidentally let an F-bomb slip on the show or on the live stream because I was very, very, very excited about the fact that this really, really, really cool bug that kind of came out of nowhere was easy to breed and seemed to have really good potential for becoming a mainstream favorite. Oh, I don't have adults yet. I got a couple sub-adults hanging out here. Whoop. They were hanging out. Where did you go? Well, this is fun. Where did you go? I just saw it hop over here. You on the wall? The only problem with Tafeliska is that they climb. And so in this particular situation, that isn't such a big deal. More so that I can't see where it hopped to behind the desk in this dim lighting. So that probably means I'll just have to wait for it to come out at nighttime, as it will inevitably do. But here, this one's nice, calmer one. As I speak about their virtues and then they misbehave. Come on. No, don't go in your burrow. Come on. Once I get it out of the enclosure, we'll be fine. Get one of them out of the enclosure. I want the big one. And Kim's here, and Kim likes orthopteran, so I have to show it off. There we go. All right. Now. There we go. All right. Everybody's chill. So, nice little Tafeliska luthera. I do think they calm down a lot more when they're adults, too. I wonder where that one went to, for real. I do have two groups of them. One that's up for sales, swaps, etc., and then the other one for the next gen that I'm keeping. They really don't, unless I'm doing something incorrectly, and nobody would be able to tell me if I was. They don't really pump out babies. There's just been a slow trickle of babies in this enclosure, and maybe when I have captive bred ones, it'll be a different story. But so you can't really mass produce them, it seems, which is fortunate and unfortunate, because that means that people will value them a bit more. But also means if they do gain popularity, it's going to be a slow climb. So let's see if we can get this in the range where it focuses on the Tafeliska. And again, this is an immature. I think this is a subadult male. Oh, a little closer, a little further. Put it in front of my face. There we go. I just love how long their antennae are. It's just crazy. Yes, TJ, there are a couple of these in your box. I think I sent at least 2 pairs and then a couple of nymphs. I think. I think I need that diet. Kim, this is a great orthopteran for you, Kim, because this enclosure is simple. The diet, and this is the whole enclosure where I've raised a bunch of them and whatnot. It's just keep half moist, half dry, keep the food from molding, and you can feed them nothing but fish flakes. I use the tetratropical fish flakes, and I just sort of have it elevated on a little piece of bark, and that's all they eat. And in the wild, Alan, not gonna lie, when I saw the adults in the wild, I almost pooted my pants. So for keeping, I spray them once a night. I'm sure you could use a thing of water with pebbles in it like they used to use for tarantulas, or a wick waterer, but I just, the light spray is my thing, and everything just does so well with it. Maybe you could even do like a little drip irrigation thing. I do think it's important for them there to be a bit of that like splash or spray. I don't know if they'll actively go for standing water, but in the wild, their diet is white and red mangrove leaves, and they probably scavenge on bird poop and other stuff they come across up there. Um, but but the bulk of their diet is the red and white mangroves, which is why I was so surprised that they would take to eating a diet of nothing but fish flakes with no vegetable matter involved. They just took to it so well. Um, so, but yeah, they're not carnivorous. It doesn't make them not cool. They're like really cool. And this this is an immature. I'm pretty sure it's a subadult male, but it could be pre-sub. Can't really see the wing pads well in this lighting, but they get even larger than this, and the antennae are just out of this world. And so yeah, they're just one of those. The story behind it was Jihu, when we were collecting in Florida, brought up that he had a friend who was looking for specimens of these, and he said it was a tree bush cricket something, and I was like, okay, I'll keep an eye out for them. And I just figure, okay, well, we're in this area, I'll just collect any tree or bush crickets that we see. And then I think the first one of these I found was a subadult female. I was like, what the heck is that? It's so huge, and it's just like hanging out, and it was awesome. And then I collected them independently. I think after that was when I showed him those, and he's like, oh, that's what my friend was looking for, and oh, I caught a couple of them too, etc. But going into that trip, and this is the thing that I love about going on trips, especially if they're not overly planned type things, and if you go good times of years, blah blah blah, is there's always something that you didn't know you wanted, or that you didn't realize was going to be so cool. So on that Florida trip, the Tafiliska was definitely that, where it was like, I had no idea that these existed, and even if I had seen pictures of them on Bug Guide at some point, I would have like looked at it and just been like, oh, it's a tree cricket. It looks like a jumping bush cricket. Okay. And then you don't get the feel for, like, even if they list millimeters or something for something, you don't realize how big they are. And then when you see coloration or the way they carry themselves in person, it's an entirely different experience. So I do like the Neoberetia Tennyson. I don't think I like working with weird things. I've tried Neoberetia a few times, and it seems like it's difficult to produce them in good numbers, which is something that I'm very much so about. So I do like them. I probably mess around with them again eventually, but until somebody finds a definitive method for, like, oh yeah, here's how you can go from one wild caught adult female to a colony of 50 in a year and a half or whatever. I really like them, but it's one of those things I have to kind of fight myself about trying to try repeatedly, because I know that it unless somebody else figures out a better way, it probably takes more time and effort than I'm willing to put into them. Unlike the Tafiliska, where it's like, oh, they're just adorable, and they just sort of take a while to do everything, but they're consistent. So, but yeah, I do like these guys, and communal and obviously handleable. As I said, is one of them hopped away, but once you get them out and they're not panicking because they're being grabbed at, they just sort of chill like this, and it's very difficult to think of other orthopterans that Brad, you have some available, you said. I was debating going into this whether or not I wanted to do this, but it seems like we've got a fair number of people in here. Do I want to do this? I gotta write this out really quick. I guess you can just stay here and get the numbers. I'll open that. Basically, I wanted to get some more funds on hand for this acrylic, or not acrylic, this polycarbonate sheet purchase thing, because I was like, okay, I need it for this enclosure and I need it for this enclosure. And then now I'm just like, now I'm just sort of like, well, I'm going to need, I need a bunch of these polycarbonate sheets, and I need them for my 10 gallons. I need them for 5.5s. And it would be stupid for me to just buy like 12 and then find out that I'm going to need the buttload more of them. I should just go all in and get a bunch so that I have them on hand if I need them. I'm so on that note, Alan, you posted giveaway. I will be doing some crazy giveaways on the what did I even decide on the name? Jeez, I feel like I have like Alzheimer's or something here. It was the Roach Crossing Bugapalooza auction and giveaway. Roach Crossing October Bugapalooza. I think calling it October Bugapalooza is probably too much of a mouthful. Look at this. I'm moving my hand around and it just doesn't care. Bugapalooza, yes. The full thing, I think, is the Roach Crossing October Bugapalooza auction and giveaway, which will be taking place from 10 a.m. Eastern Time to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, October 1st and Sunday, October 2nd, which will have all kinds of deals, discount groups, giveaways, donations, all kinds of stuff. I'm just going to go through and do all kinds of stuff on the day, and I need to start my advertising for it and whatnot. But I suppose if I didn't advertise and it was just the people who are on the live stream or who've heard about it through word of mouth, that you'd be getting some crazy deals on a bunch of things. You're just sitting there, and it's like maybe every like hour and a half I would actually sell or auction off one of the groups that I put up. So also Jojo Macro says my dogs have joined. Sorry I didn't say hello to you earlier, but it's good to see you. You seem to be a new face. Anyways, where I was going with this was I wanted to put up a group to generate some funds so I can justify buying these polycarbonate sheets as soon as I could. And I was playing around with what I wanted to do and whatnot, and what I wanted to give away and such. So I might just quietly type out a quick sale group list thing here and then put it in the chat. And if somebody wants it, they want it. If they don't want it, then I'll probably get an email when somebody watches the dead stream asking if it's still available. Brad, I can see you're just trying to get the bit there. So let me just, this would be pretty crazy. Uh-oh. It crawled off my hand and into the laptop. Be funny if the other one was under here. Come here. Again, that's the thing about Tafaliska, is that they're very chill, but they climb, not just climb as in like, oh yeah, they like climb stuff like I'm trying to think of a thing that climbs but doesn't climb like a climbing roach does. They can climb smooth surfaces, is what I'm trying to say. So I actually don't have a barrier on their enclosure because I don't work in it often enough, and usually when I do, it's during the day, so they're in their little burrows, or they're cozied up with their antennae sticking out from the bark and whatnot, foaming at them out. Joshua from Canada with the hi, hello, good to see you again, Jojo Macro. Okay, I'm gonna have to synchronize the name and the new user thing. So this is what I've been talking about. Tafaliska Luthra. It'll eventually focus. It's I've been calling them. So I don't like giving things new common names, and I like picking from old common names for stuff, or if the current common name has absolutely nothing to do with the Latin, I will just sort of feel like it is my almighty social justice Latin name warrior to look at the Latin name and pick something based on the specific epithet that transliterates. Come on, you were focusing so well earlier. I'm gonna put this. Let's see if we can get this like this. Anyways, but these have like 5 different common names because nobody's worked on or with them long enough in terms of like taxonomy or life history studies to have cemented something. So the group of people who work with them and have collected them, such as myself and Alan, and come on, focus. Maybe too far. Right there. Have been calling them Florida false wetas because they're endemic to basically Florida. I mean, some other parts of the Caribbean, but mostly centered around Florida. And the adults look like what a false weta would look like, I suppose. They're very weta-like. They live up in trees, but they're completely unrelated to them. So, and Brett, before you have a heart attack, let me get the group typed out. Let me put you back. I suppose since I had the Taphiliska, they've been featured very heavily today, that I suppose that should be something in this sale group. So I'm going to put them in there. So I typed this out. I can already feel the regret slightly creeping in. That's pretty tasty, but do I want one more tasty thing on here? I have three things in this group made up already, but I'm wondering if I want one last morsel, one more icing on the cake here, but I don't exactly know what I want to put. Robust bush cricket seems to be an actual common name. Yeah, but then the entomology department or something of Florida was calling them silent tree crickets or something like that. Real quick, while I'm trying to, the brain is percolating on icing on the cake. This person, 002, hello, welcome. I don't think I've seen you on the stream before, so welcome. If I keep any Panacea and Caudelia, yes, I have a very large writhing colony of Panacea, Angustipennis cognata laus. A good number of the colony's not as old, so I don't have as many of that same subspecies from Cambodia. And then as of 2 months ago, I also have a very thriving colony of Ancaudelia hemifera, which it took a while to get going. I did kind of neglect them last summer, but this year they've had a good year. So, maybe I'll slap some of those on there. Okay, I can already. I really feel the regret creeping in from this this abomination of a sale group. But I want those polycarb sheets. So, all right, here's a sale group. You get everything that's listed for the price listed, and it will be shipped this upcoming Tuesday or Wednesday. And again, this is for the whole. Let's see, it's Facebook, not Facebook. Whoops. While the formatting's a bit weird, this is a good trial run because I'm going to have to do this for the actual auction. But this is what you can kind of expect to see when I do the auction. It will be groups of things like this with some other little perks to the some other little perks in each of the groups involved. So let me see, 002, you have said your current collection is a giant colony of Pycnoscelis as feeders for reptiles, Polyphagus sauceri, Gynecophorum, the Holy Grail, Perispherus punctatus, and Pygmaeus. Don't have many of the Perispherus, but it's a start. Yeah, there's a nice little collection there. You got a lot of very quirky, unique things. I need to get my Perispherus colonies off the ground. Me and Perispherus have not gotten along for some time now, and I would say maybe I'm really hopeful with these Paraspheris punctatus I received a couple months. I'm really hopeful, and this winter I was really hopeful with the pseudoglomerus, or no, Paraspheris. No, they're Pseudoglomerus tarsalis, and I had some big issues with those, even though everything was going just peachy keen all winter, and I'm now down to single Pseudoglomerus tarsalis, and I was upset about that. But these punctatus have been much hardier than Pygmaeus ever were for me, and so now all my hope is in my punctatus. I also have Pseudoglomerus magnifica cuck fong, which have been doing consistently well for me. I'm just now getting another good group of nymphs, and if Smack ever comes back, I actually need to get her colony. What is T. rotundatus? Oh, how rude of me. That is the green spot isopod that everybody seems to be killing, and that I am not killing, fortunately, and have a very good, happy colony of. Yes, they've been called Cubaris species green spots, but then actual intellectual people found out that they're actually in the genus Troglodilo. So, oh boy, yeah, I do kind of regret posting that group, because I was like, let's see what the actual isopod vendors are selling this species for, and yeah, I don't think I'm going to be dropping $375 on a 6 count anytime soon. So, Caudiferas and Caudelia hemifera. And the Latin name implies that the Troglodillos are a troglodytic species of isopod. They have made an argument. I'm going to put the Taphiliska container back. They've made the argument that all of the Cubaris and Nasodillo and Troglodillo are all cave isopods, but if you go on iNaturalist, you find miscellaneous members of those taxa from not caves across many places. Oh, Marulinella might actually be the bipunctata or whatever, or they might be a mimicry complex. That's interesting. So, but yes, they've made the argument that a lot of these isopods are strictly troglodytic, which they do not fit the definitions for a troglophile or troglodytes, just on morphology alone. And I'm surprised Kai hasn't rushed in, because he loves saying that Simon Doe are not cave adapted. They are not troglodytes, in that they don't have reduced eyes, pale coloration, a bunch of other things that usually goes along with troglodytic species, strictly troglodytic species. But things can be in the process of becoming troglodytes, but at the same time, the argument that all these Cubaris and Nasodillo and all this other stuff are strictly cave isopods is ridiculous, because there's pictures of things out in vegetation, and definitely not in the depths of a cave, as you would see with things that are more cave adapted, such as what are those cave crickets that I found? I can't remember the genus. The ones we found in the tub well in Tennessee, where it's like, all right, they're getting reduced pigmentation, their eyes are tiny, and they have exaggerated legs and antennae. They're definitely very far along in the process of becoming a troglodytic organism, and they were in pretty much a cave, a small cave, but a cave nonetheless. So, Eucharidia yasumatsui. That's another. I would really like. I've tried Eucharidia a couple times, but I never get adults of both sexes at the same time. So that's the problem with some of these Caridias, including Arenovegas. You got to have. You got to make sure that you have adult females ready to mate with males that are maturing. And hello, TJ. You know, the next time I get Eucharidia, I want to buy like 50 of them, and I don't even want to try with any less than that. I want to like buy or swap for straight up 50 of them, so that I know for a fact that I will be getting adults of both sexes mature at the same time. So it's been my problem every time. Oh yes, that's the other thing Alan brings up here, that at least Aranavega females can live fairly long. Yes, you can have Aranavega females can live for, it varies by the species, but I wouldn't be surprised if a Booleana lived for a year, and if like a Tenax or something lived for like 8+ months. So Eucharidia, it seems, as they mature and is very short, just a couple of months. And in my cases, I was always getting, I think I was even having females mature before males, and then no males would pop up and all the females would die, or it was vice versa. I can't really remember. It's been at least 2 years since I've kept a Eucharidia. But why? What? See, I was like, I love them. I want to keep them there. Yes, I do want to have a good colony of them, and I want to get a large group of them. All right, Brett, you want the sale group? I can definitely tell you how to take care of the silly little isopods. And by silly little isopods, they're actually quite large. They get quite large for an isopod. They're very laterally flat, dorsally flattened, more like a Porcellio spatulatus or something like that. So they seem like they don't seem too picky about the surfaces that they cling to. They usually, I will find them in the enclosure. They'll be on the underside and in the furrows of the cottonwood bark that I put in, which I put in with the outside bark side facing down, so it makes a lot of little ridges and areas that they can climb in between, as opposed to putting the smooth side down, which I do with some things, but it doesn't give as much surface area. And good humidity. The substrate's always consistently moist in their enclosure, and just the typical rich rotting organic material for isopods. A lot of their frass, I feed them fish flakes, as I do fish flakes and very sparingly dog food now. I will probably, as the colony grows, I will bump up the dog food, but the fish flakes don't. When they mold, they get a better kind of mold, and they don't mold as fast as dog food does. So, but consistently moist in the enclosure. A lot of their frass seems to be, it's about 60-70% the organic matter that's in there, which is a combination of the white rotwood material also mixed with leaf litter and whatnot. And the remaining bit of it is, it's very clear the fish flakes, because it's all confetti colored. So, or at least it's noticeably more colorful than the frass bits that are the organic material. So, but anyways, what I was saying with the Eucharidia is, yes, I want to get a group of like 50 to 100. I don't even care how much money it costs. I will just slap it down. But I don't think anybody has a group of 50 available. And I don't know if that eBay seller is a certain person that I've sort of cut communications with, or rather, I'm not cut. I don't block people out completely like that, but somebody who I prefer not to deal with anymore. I don't feel like receiving stock from him. I would now, TJ, if you find yourself needing money and you have a group of 50 of any of those Eucharidia species, you should definitely be in touch with me. What I was going to say is, what's sort of scratched that itch for me for now is the Eutherhappa, because they have a very similar color scheme. It seems like it's easier to get with the group size that I got. I've been getting a good number of adults of both sexes, obviously, to mature at the same time. And it wasn't as risky or as expensive as getting a group of 50 Eucharidia. So I figure eventually I'll get them. Somebody will have extras they'll want to swap, or that they will very kindly send to me for one reason or another. But for now, I can be happy with the Eutherhappa, because they're like tiny Eucharidias. So, yeah, I would like Eucharidia, definitely. But as I have mentioned, there's some things in the way of the. Actually, speaking of which, TJ, I need to get you a list of things that I need, because I think I need more Dryma planita. I have them set up well ventilated and pretty much dry, and I think I have just a pair. but it looked like some of the ones molted out and had serratia, so that might have affected their fitness, and that might be why I'm down to a healthy pair now. So I need more of those. The Pseudophilus agassizii. I feel like there were a couple of other miscellaneous odds and ends that I maybe needed, but what other roaches? Yeah, it's been a good year for new roaches all around. In general, I don't think we've really gotten. Well, I mean, I got dream species with the Pacifica. I don't think we've really gotten anything earth-shattering per se, but we've gotten just a lot of really cool, really good species that just really round out what's available. Let's see. 002 has written a paragraph which he has apologized for. That roaches are not his or her main focus. Carnivorous plants, myrmecophytic plants, rubiaceous plants. High altitude species evolved away from housing ants and instead host many montane species of frogs and roaches. This is linked to a species of cockroach found inside a species of myrmecophyte, Hydrophytum caminiferum. Oh, wow, that's an interesting plant. It's a very interesting plant. That's a weird sound outside. Well, you've got a good group of roach people in the chat right now, 002, if you're able to link the image. I don't know if you can because it's a YouTube chat thing, but if you can't, you can always email it to me and I can transfer it around. And again, if there's anybody who's going to have a good idea at what it is, it's going to be the people who are in this chat right now. Between TJ Allen and I, we can get it at least to family, and then based on location and other features, we might even be able to get it to genus or whatnot. Oh no, TJ, your Drimaplaneta crashed. Oh no, what happened? I wonder if it was like the beginning of the end when the ones you sent to me, because I set them up dry, and which I feel very comfortable doing at this time of year because of the high air humidity, and I don't think I really lost them dramatically. I think it was just sort of a trickle of onesie twosie that they died, but I'm pretty sure that I have a pair still alive. Because at first I was like, oh, I have just adult males, and then I was like, wait a minute, I think I have a pair. So there's still hope, I guess. I should probably go and check them. Actually, I removed I was giving them their food in a food cup, and because of the high air humidity and just the perfect storm of conditions in this one container, there were some grain mites that had colonized the food cup, and I just changed the food like whenever I last did roach maintenance, which was like 5 days ago. So it was very strange, but I switched it over to some just very grain mite repellenty food in the hopes that that it wouldn't escalate and the situation result. I should probably move some predatory mites into that enclosure, actually. Only had a few males make it to maturity. You know, that's the problem I always had with Drimaplaneta. Like, I was able to raise some nymphs to adult. This is a long time ago. This was maybe like 2011 or something. And I was able to raise them to adulthood. It took forever, and they just sort of like died one by one. And I had a pair left at some point, and I was hopeful. And then the female was producing like deformed ooths, and it was just bad. But the last set you sent, maybe around 2018, that one definitely died from, I would say neglect, but I did put a good effort into setting them up. But my set it wasn't ventilated enough. It was too humid for them constantly. So, I guess it's up to me to hopefully this possible pair of adult Drimaplaneta to produce something. I hope. I should check on them tonight. Just in case. I know I checked on them again like less than a week ago, but it was during my standard roach checking procedures. So I didn't look in depth per se. I didn't really dissect the whole enclosure and get a full picture of what was going on. Oh, Ty and Junior still have them. Well, I know somebody that I'm texting right now. Let's see. Let's see if Ty has any Drimaplaneta available. Speaking of, kind of, everybody who's here, if you have them, are your Rhabdoblata rustica doing okay? Or your Epilamprine species Borneo? Are they doing okay? Anybody who's got them? who rushed that Facebook seller and bought all of his rustica? 002, let me give you a comment to read. Still a beginner with more xeric species. Currently, I have my polyphag on dry sand with a damp core, which seems to be the standard, but people kept them or the xerics on wetter soil. If you got dry air, you can go pretty moist with the soil you're keeping a lot of caridiids on, especially Polyphaga and Arenovega. The problem I've had with Polyphaga sauceri is that the strains that I have seem to have in the past kept retained a species of entomophagus fungus, which would occasionally cause problems. And when I was at my parents' house and I kept them very humid, this is the bane of my existence, was the fact that if I kept them in relatively unventilated containers during the winter, the humidity was perfect because the outside humidity was so low. Blah, blah, blah. I go on and on about this. But during the summer, when it got cooler and moister, because my parents would turn the air conditioning on, and even with the heat lamps in the bug room, it would still get cool, I would have a lot of losses due to the fungus or due to just them not liking those conditions. So currently, I don't have that problem in my Sauceri enclosure, but they definitely do well if they're kept dry air, mostly dry substrate with just a small moist area. So, okay, so TJ, are the Epilamprine species Borneo, should I start labeling them with species Coda Kinabalu? Because I think you said that they're from the same place as the Pseudophoraspis came from. And Alan, no, I did not crash them. I still have them going. I was just curious because we all went for the rustica, and I was wondering if everybody's were still doing fine. I've gotten in the habit of having a tank ready for them so that the second I feel like they might crash, I just transfer like 30 or 40 of them over to it, and just in preparation, and then they usually do well in there, and the other thing is crashed. So both of mine are still doing fine. Okay, I will have to update the species Borneo page. I'll do it right now with that information. So I guess until we have a Latin, I'll just keep using Bornean leaf roach. Go to Kinabalu. Gonna update that right now. All right, there we go. So, does anybody else have colonies of the Coda Kinabalu then? Oh, yours are doing very well. Sorry, I didn't read that. Oh, undescribed. Well, why doesn't somebody describe them? If they are, in fact, undescribed and an undescribed genus, why doesn't anybody describe them? The worst that could happen is 50 years down the road, somebody does a graduate project and realizes they were described in like the early 1900s or something. So, Oh, add it to the things. Oh, that was some big news. So Springtail Expert has examined the springtails from Cave Creek Canyon. Morphine is a word that I cannot say or should not say. I mean, I guess I can say it because it's don't really care. But this is try to keep this a Christian Minecraft server as best as I can for as wide of an audience reach as I can. But I'll let the comments, the chat speak for itself. But anyways, the last thing before I think I wrap up the stream because we're getting close to 2 hours is the springtails I sent off to the specialist. Finally got him specimens. He identified them under a microscope, and they were calling this species 18 or something like that. He said the specimens that I gave him, and perhaps also species 18, are actually an already described species of springtail. And this is a springtail expert also. So apparently springtail taxonomy is bundle can of worms. So they're already described as Sierra dubia, but they are very poorly described because they have not done a inventory of the SETI distribution and life history. There's a bunch of information that is lacking from this species description and whatnot. And so the information that I collected, as well as the specimens I collected, as well as the live specimens I still have, all have data that is still publishable. So although there will not be a new species out of this, and there's probably synonymization of what they were calling species 18 with Sierra dubia, there will still be a publication out of this that I'm going to be involved with. So I'm happy. It would have been nice if it was undescribed, but it's also nice to contribute to just the general science, and this will be a publication describing more about it. And I feel like I have all that information. I'm excited to share it and get it out there. So I'm still happy. Just have to keep grinding until there's an undescribed roach that I want to overly contribute to, other than having Eublaberus distanti and Eublaberus biolii separated into two different species. That will probably be my main quest for now. Malaysia, Archaeblada hoveni, another species I like to try again. Several taxonomists that were initially keen on revising Epilamprinae that have since moved on to other families because they didn't want the workload. Yeah, it's funny how beetles and Lepidoptera and all that stuff can get revisions constantly, but then like people don't want to touch cockroaches. Like even Heidi Hopkins has moved on from working with Aranavega, and TJ, I think that our enthusiasm is pretty much the only reason that she's getting dragged back into it just to identify our stock. It's probably because there's a kindred spirit shared there for these little sandy boys and girls. But from what the way she emailed me, it really seemed like she's kind of moved on from working with the air. She did look at a lot of specimens for her work, and there's, as she's well aware, there's more than enough that still needs to be published and said on Aranavega life history. So, yeah, maybe one day, right? When I open it could happen when I open the Roach Crossing Cockroach Research and Development Center that will be focused on cockroach natural history and all this. So, it could happen one day. It could. Maybe it should one day. So, but anyways, if everybody else has anything to add to today's stream, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I will do one more plug, and I'm going to put it on the homepage, and hopefully by tomorrow night I'll have a more fleshed out advertisement for the event. But again, the Roach Crossing October Bugapalooza auction and giveaway, October 1st and 2nd, 10 a.m. Eastern Time to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, both days, auction, giveaway, donations, all kinds of stuff. It's going to be, 12 hours straight both days, and it's going to be awesome. There will be lots of cool bugs or things I haven't put on the site yet. I will be getting things specifically for the event. It's just, if you want cool new bugs, it will be the place to check this October. And again, a lot of colonies and things like that will be getting all kinds of auction sales, these giveaways, all kinds of. It's just going to sit here and have a vague outline for the number of sub-event things that I need to do during it, and vague outline for that. And then also I just want to just make it a big thing, hopefully. And then maybe next year it'll be even bigger. So 002, thank you for joining us. I'll hopefully see you next Thursday. Again, a lot of the regulars and new folks who have popped in. It's been great to see everybody. I showed bug this time. I showed 2 bugs, and I wasn't even asked to show bug. Well, I think Kim may have pestered for bugs, but I did it more of my own accord, and even Victor made an appearance. So, yeah. I guess if there's nothing else to discuss, I suppose we'll end the live stream here. This is a bad influence. It makes you dive back into bugs. Yeah, it's again, Kim, in your case, if you put the infrastructure into it, it's so little work to just have a couple of things, especially detritivores like mantids. That's another thing I need to back up. Again, got to get my mantid inventory back up and going. That'll be pretty soon. So, just so much I have to do. But you know what? I feel like I'm in my lane. I'm making some good progress, and I've been getting a lot of things done and getting a lot of things set up lately. So I'm quite content and not exactly exhausted. I am invigorated by the progress this week, if anything. I had too many lizards still. Jojo, I guess I'll just call you Jojo from now. Good to see you again too. And yes, you do have bugs. We all, most of us here have bugs. And if you're here and you don't have bugs, you need bugs. So, anyways, I suppose we'll wrap it up there then. Thanks again, everybody. I'll see you all next week. And until then and beyond then, may your cultures ever be bountiful.